Well, good evening, good people. Mark Holmes here. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. I hope everybody's having a great day. This time tomorrow, we will be probably going into halftime. Getting close to halftime of the NFL season. The 2024 season is upon us, good people. Oh my glob. I cannot be any more excited. Alexa, turn on bar lights, please. There you go. Look, I love it. I love it. All right, couple things here. We have the Dak Prescott trashing of my quarterback, my teammate. And if you say something about him, it's not fair. Brandon Cooks is kind of pissed off about listening to always his quarterback being trashed. And this is his comments. And let me see if I got the right one here. Hold on.
You've been with a lot
Yep, here we go.
quarterbacks, Tom and Drew and all those guys. Can you just talk about the stuff you hear about Dak outside, the disrespect I think he gets?
It's blasphemy. It's unbelievable. I mean, the guy shows up every year, year in and year out, putting up numbers, leading his team. He can't do it all by himself, right? A lot of those great quarterbacks that I've been with, Tom and Drew, they don't get me wrong, they won a lot of games, won a lot of Super Bowls, but they had a lot of help around them as well, right? And so us players around them also got to step up. And so when we hear that disrespect, I take that personally, and as his teammates, we should take that personally, because at the end of the day, somebody got to be able to help him get over that hump so we can go win one.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, there you have it. Okay. I like hearing that the whole team is taking ownership of this thing, that it's not just one guy. And, let's hope that that's the case. Now, in other news, I hope they got the fumigation crew at the Star this evening, because Stephen A. Smith brought his ass, of course, to the Cowboys facility to sit down for a 1 hour and 10-minute interview with Jerry Jones. Now, here's my contention here. I personally think that Jerry Jones has stepped a little further away from the abyss and said, wait a minute, I'm not buried just yet. And taking a little bit more control and active work with the Dallas Cowboys. That maybe some of the things that have gone on, and he's been the one getting all the flack, but he's not the one that's been making the decisions. Forgive me. And that he is kind of changing things and kind of doing things a little bit more himself than others. Let's listen to what he had to say about the Dak Prescott situation, because tomorrow's already Thursday. And if we're trying to get this thing done, we're going to do it, announce it at kickoff. Although I can say this, I do remember going to that toxic waste dump, FedEx Field, to a Monday night game, Eagles versus the Commanders. And before the game, they announced that Donovan McNabb had got a new contract with the Commanders. And then they proceeded to get pummeled. One of the worst Monday night massacres I've ever seen, especially in person. Let's listen in to what Stephen A. and Jerry Jones were saying about Dak Prescott's contract. Jerry Jones saying that Dak Prescott's contract will age well.
Transition from CeeDee Lamb to your quarterback. And I'm going to be very delicate with what I'm asking, because we all know what's going on with Dak Prescott. And there are things I'm smart enough to know that while a negotiation is taking place. You understand what I'm saying? Only a fool talks about their own negotiations while their negotiations are taking place. I would know that from personal experience right now. But I have to ask you, when you talk about looking ahead and looking to the future, how much of that thought process is applicable to your quarterback, considering what the quarterback market has dictated with everybody from Trevor Lawrence to Joe Burrow to Jordan Love? The list goes on and on. How much does that factor into your thinking knowing what the market says it is about the most important position in football, which is the quarterback position?
Well, I'll tell you this. You've nailed it with your question and the ground that you have to cover. Again, Dak is a long-term decision for the Dallas Cowboys.
You think?
I think Dak, one of his unique things is that he's going to be able to, his makeup, what he is, his skill levels, what he is as a person and a quarterback will age well as you look at quarterback age and viability. I think it will age well as he moves into the next 5 or 10 years of his life. I think he's the kind of quarterback that gets better and better. That we certainly know that time, oh Father Time, that it makes a big difference as we get older. But quarterback is a place that experience can manifest itself in wins. Also, the hard times, the mistakes that have been made, if you've got the right kind of makeup, that's a plus. You need rewarded for having gone through that because you, not Stephen A. I'm pointing to, I'm talking about Dak Prescott, you know how to use a hard time and turn it into an asset. He does that. It's one of his qualities.
What evidence is there of that, though, Jerry? Because
Here
I'm
we
thinking
go.
about postseason. I know that he's been absolutely phenomenal in the regular season. He wins in September, October, November. In the month of December, I think his record is like 21-8. But then January comes, the record is 4-8. And last time I checked, when you started here, 36 years ago, it didn't take you long to get a first ring, then a second ring, and then a third ring inside of 4 years. And the Dallas Cowboys were loaded with a level of success that we still revere to this very day. At what point do you look at your quarterback and say, when you going to give it to me in January?
You're so good. You're so good. No, I mean it. And I appreciate it because you literally have gone through the steps of thinking that I've evolved, not just over the last weeks, months, but over the years. There is a case where you have to think that something's going to happen that hasn't happened yet. Otherwise, you're sitting right there with everybody else having measured the experience. In Dak's case, I look at his basic great qualities, and then I fundamentally see someone that is getting better. I think he got better with Mike, with coaching him directly as his offensive coordinator. I think he has improved since the day that he got here, if you really want to look at that.
So you think he was better last year with Mike McCarthy as both the head coach and the play caller than he was when Kellen Moore was here as the offensive coordinator?
Well,
is that fair?
Without diminishing or demeaning Kellen, he was definitely better last year. Definitely. And by the way, room to get better, room to grow. I think that's a fact. The other thing is that he's got last year in his heart and in his framework of reference. He's got that and the disappointments that went with it, some of the positive that went with it. He's got that to use this year. Physically, yes, I think he's getting better. I do want to recognize, though, that as you get older, then some of that is diminished. This is a position, though, that long-term experience can really pay off for you. Now, here's the way that I look at it completely is that when you look at what he brings to the table,
keeping you relevant
to the alternative. The alternative is not a one-year alternative. It's a several-year alternative. So when you look at the prospects of the likelihood of him over the next 5 years knocking on that door, I like those odds.
He likes those odds.
That, to me, is where you go. You pull the trigger.
Then why have we pulled the trigger?
It's very important that we have a way to reconcile this with Dak, because we've had the benefit of a lot of supporting cast with Dak over the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Yes.
Would you give us that?
Yes, I would.
You mean the team that has spent the least basically over the last 8 years of him being here in spending? Okay.
Would in a heartbeat.
Okay, so we've had a lot of supporting cast. There's no question that with Dak having been very well paid over the last 4 or 5 years.
$157.4 million over the last 4 years.
Over the last 4.
That's right.
There's no question that I got some of that off my credit card.
Okay.
In other words, I spent some money that I didn't have.
Right.
Very common in the NFL. Matter of fact,
And
it's
common with you because that's what you
practice.
did when you first bought the Cowboys.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
It very much is. But you certainly, I'd like to say I did then too, but I had a passion that I wanted to get involved that I scratched then that I'm not scratching that passion as much right now. I'm trying
that a
to be
penicillin
real
shot?
practical, at least in this explanation
Right.
to you. But the facts are that not only have we had great supporting cast around Dak, we have also spent some of the money that we've got to spend on Dak in the future. That went in on his last contracts.
Right.
That's the way the cap works, and that's usually when you have a high-priced quarterback, what you do.
Okay, I want to mention that some of that money that you also spent was also going to Jalen Smith and eating that and eating Zeke Elliott's contract and eating, of course, Michael Gallup's contract, $4 million of which is this year and $8 million is next year. But go on, Jerry.
So we have the challenge of not only recouping what we have spent on him over the last 4 years, we've got to add that to what we're going to be paying him for the future. Now, that's not Dak's problem, only in that it's the Dallas Cowboys problem.
Yes, it is.
Because that money is not going to be there to spend on supporting cast. And so we've got to ask ourselves, can we have the kind of success that Dak deserves, we deserve, his teammates deserve, our fans deserve? Can we do that and get in the range to afford Dak? I think we can.
He thinks we can. Okay. That was a whole lot of speaking there by Jerry Jones, where he's talking about, of course, the only person that got paid in the Cowboys was Dak Prescott, that he sucked up all the money and stuff, and so on. So does that mean he's going to get paid before the season starts? Who knows? Does it mean he's going to get paid during the season? Who knows? Does it mean he's going to get paid next offseason? Who the hell knows? But at least we heard it from the horse's mouth. I'm Mark. Oh wait, but hold up. Let me give you one more perspective here, because this is where it gets to be interesting. Let me pull it up and see. This is the Gronkster. Let's listen to this.
Dak Prescott.
Dak, I think he'll be re-signing with the Cowboys. I mean, the guy puts up numbers. It's so hard to find a franchise quarterback. Who are you going to move on to? Like, are you kidding me? The guy knows the playbook in and out. He knows the system in and out. He's been having great years. It's a team game. When they lose in the playoff, it's not just the quarterback's fault. It's everyone's fault as a whole. You can't just put the blame on Dak, and everyone does because he's the quarterback of the franchise. So it's hard to find a replacement at the quarterback position, especially with the numbers that he's putting up. So I think he'll be back eventually. Just let this year play out.
I mean, they have 12 wins in 3 years straight, you allude to, but they don't, Jerry wants to win a Super Bowl. He's getting, there's time's a ticking. So do you think are you saying you think Dak can do that?
I think he can possibly win a Super Bowl, but if you look at the big picture and you're winning every year and you're going to the playoffs every year, that's success in the NFL. Imagine getting rid of him and then they bring in another quarterback who's throwing for less yards, less touchdowns, and they don't even make the playoffs. That will sting even more. When you're already having success, you got to stick with it, especially in the NFL. Every single team that's on the top wants to win the Super Bowl, but it's the hardest thing to do in sports. So when you're winning, though, you got to keep those guys around because they're going to give you the best chance to win that Super Bowl.
Amazing when Gronk makes more sense than Jerry Jones. I'm Mark Holmes, and I am back here, guys, tomorrow night. It is going to be game time. It's going to be game time. It all starts in less than 24 hours. I'm Mark Holmes, and I appreciate y'all. Peace out.